with the Breeders' Cup Classic being the highlight to the 2 days and the unique matchup. We've never had a Triple Crown winner in the history of the Breeders' Cup. So American Pharoah is setting history in so many ways leading into the Fall Championship days. Then there's that matchup with the best horse in the country who happens to be a female beholder. It's intriguing all the way around, but this whole weekend does start with American Pharoah, your Triple Crown champion, the first in 37 years in the 6-5 morning line favorite for the Breeders' Cup Classic, despite the fact he's coming off a less than stellar performance in the Travers where he lost to Keen Ice. These workouts are very key that he has leading up to the Classic because we want to see the old American Pharoah. Did we see it on October 14th?
This was a pivotal work, a 7-furlong distance. It was his 6th workout since the Travers. And this is the main work, the real work that's going to put foundation in the horse and propel him forward. So we like to look at the subsequent 2 works after this, Christina. Again, look, this is a horse that's always brought his A game in the morning. I mean that from a letter grade because he is like an orchestra. He's so fluid. He's effortless with his stride. And like I say, when an orchestra plays a symphony, if they hit a bad note, it sounds terrible. This horse never hits a bad note. He's got all his instruments tuned. His stride is phenomenal, and I think he's showing what he showed us in the early spring.
He just breathes different air than some of the other horses out there. I mean, this work stands out not only amongst this group that we're going to see competing this year, but amongst any works that you will ever see. He has such a beautiful way of going. And one thing that I always point out with regard to American Pharoah is how much he uses his head and his neck with his stride. He's just so efficient. He uses every part of his body to reach on the ground, to attack the ground, to hit it well. And I was out there this morning, and you could see with Bob Baffert, he was nervous. This is what he wanted to see in order to move forward. He wanted to turn the screws on this horse. They backed off after the Travers. They needed something like this with a strong gallop out to be confident to move forward for the class.
7 furlongs, 123 out a mile in 135.
But isn't that an unusual distance for Bob Baffert to work a 7 furlongs
Yes,
like
but
this?
he knows this was a pivotal work. This, I think, to me, decided whether he was going to push forward or just pull the plug on the campaign, and he passed this work with flying colors.
And Baffert trains his horses so hard from day one that in order for them to move forward, to move past a layoff, he needs to train them harder. He trains them through what some horses or some people might consider a bounce.
Real quick, worked with the stablemate at Matamea Moore, gave her 8 lengths, went by her easily.
With each work that we show you, there's going to be a letter grade from our analysts, Simon Bray and Christina Blacker. In that case, Christina saying it's perfect, A+, Simon with an A. And then we have our TVG Clocker crew that was out there in the mornings to take a look, so that's a consensus view of how they saw the work. That was an important work, as Simon mentioned. It was on October 14th, much closer to the race. The last big workout for American Pharoah was here on October 26th. Let's take a look at this effort. Obviously very different distance. What about what they're looking for?
Okay, so this is the work, 2 works after the work we've just seen. So we've had that big 7/8 work to get some foundation. And the big question here is, has he improved out of that work? Was that like a race where he got something out of it? It was a workout, did he get something out of it? And I say absolutely yes. Why did I give him an A in his last work? Because I thought this work was better. This was on 10:26. It was a half mile, no company, 46-3. If I grabbed somebody off the street and said, you know what, I want to show you a video of a prototypical fantastic racehorse. This is what he should look like. This is how he should move. This is how he should do everything. This would be it. This would be a video that I would use to educate new young people, tell them it's exactly what a good horse should look like.
That time is so incredible because you look at it and visually you think maybe he's going in 50. 46-3 when it looks like that. And Tom Amos calls, he wants you to look at his ears. Look at that horse's ears. Pricked, easy, so effortless for him. He had so much more that he could have done in the morning.
He's nimble, he's very aesthetic. There is no uncoordination or awkwardness to his stride. He hits every lead change on cue. And he's just so fluid. I mean, he's just so absolutely fluid, no energy into what he's doing. He does it so easily.
American Pharoah attempting to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, just like the new stallion to Hillendale's roster. Keeneland now added to their already powerful stallion roster out there. As we continue on the works presented by Hillendale Farms, we now go to the main competition, at least in most handicappers' minds, for American Pharoah, Beholder.
As important as 7 furlong work was for American Pharoah that we saw, I thought this was equally, if not more important, for Beholder because she had just shipped across country. She had a history of some shipping fever and lung issues. I'll get more into that after the workout. So we wanted to see, once she landed in Keeneland, had a little bit of a fever, how did she come out of it? And this would show that she came out of it perfect. This was 5/8 in 59-2. Last quarter in 23-1, Christina. under no drive from exercise rider Janine Painter.
Yeah, she was a little more keen early, and she's just so smart, Simon. She anticipates everything the rider's going to want her to do. She switches leads before they square up. She gallops out on her own before being asked of it. This was a solo work versus one in company, just so easy for her.
Okay, grades for Beholder then.
I gave her an A+. I thought it was a fantastic work, out 6 furlongs in 1:12. Some horses don't work 3/4 in that time. And coming off a shipping fever scare, I thought that was a phenomenal workout.
I gave her an A-, and only because I've seen her train out at Santa Anita the last couple of weeks, and I actually thought she looked a little bit better in some of those works at Santa Anita. Not a bad work by any means, but I think she's still looking around, maybe a little trepidatious over the new surface and kind of getting accustomed to her surroundings there at Keeneland.
Real quick, Todd, the shipping fever is a big issue. I think people dismiss it sometimes. This is the first time in Beholder's career that she's strung 3 races together since 2013. She obviously has a history of lung problems. What it means is when horses ship across country, they're in an unnatural state, especially in an airplane. Their heads are high. When you see horses in a stall or out in the field, their heads are low. It allows the mucus to drain, the bacteria to get out. When they're cross-tied in an airplane, there's no other option. There's no ventilation with windows. So with, we're talking about a journey 4 hours or plus. She was at that threshold going from LAX to Lexington, about 3.5 hours. Horses can come be dehydrated. It can transpire into pleuropneumonia. They can get lung issues and pneumonia, and Beholder's had a history of that, and it always comes back to those horses that have had a history of that. She got over it, she spiked a little fever and rebounded very quickly, which you can do from it. But if that journey had been a little longer, it might have been more dire straits for her.
Quick question before I move on to the next horse. How did I get along without you these last 4 months? Simon Bray, welcome back.